All right. Hello, everyone. Give people a couple minutes or a couple moments here to join, and then we'll get started. All right. All right. We have some people rolling in. I will get us kicked off. We have a really exciting session here today. So this is a webinar from WIA ourselves. This is part of a two-part series, WIA Leading the Way. This session features a speaker who many of you may know very well, Rehgan Bleile, who is the founder of Women in Analytics. This session is going to be on becoming an AI power user, AI foundations, and ChatGPT. So just to cover a couple of housekeeping items, today we're going to start off with an introduction, share a little bit more about the session, the series, and WIA itself. And I'll turn it over to Rehgan for a presentation. And at the end, if there's any questions, let us know. We have a couple minutes before we wrap up. So this session, this is a two-part series that's designed to empower professionals in the evolving and changing fields of artificial intelligence and data leadership. And this also helps you learn more about some of our offerings that we are very, very excited about here at WIA, which are our newly launched AI Bootcamp and CDO Masterclass. So this first session is going to focus more on teaching you about the AI Bootcamp. So diving into the essentials of AI, from the tools to the framework to a range of practical applications that can help you drive business innovations. And you'll learn more about how you can continue to participate in different ways with WIA with the AI Bootcamp. So a little bit about Women in Analytics. WIA was founded with the mission to bring and increase visibility to women, non-binary individuals within who are making an impact in the analytics, data, ML, AI spaces, and also to provide a platform for those individuals to be the ones who are leading the conversation and sharing the really amazing things that they are working on and the impact that they're driving. So we have a lot of different ways to get involved. If you follow this link here on the QR code or visit womenanalytics.com, you can join our membership community absolutely for free. And you can stay up to date with all of the amazing events, mentorship program, and a lot of the offerings that we have available. So talking about just a few more housekeeping items. If you have any questions today throughout the session, please put them in the little Q&A box down there. It has a little question and we will get to those. If you're having any issues with audio, just send us an email. And if you are interested in keeping up with us and getting involved in future sessions, you can do that in a number of ways, following us on social, signing up for our newsletter, or joining the community platform to stay up to date while you stay connected with your fellow data and analytics enthusiasts. All right. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rehgan Bleile to share a little bit more about how you can become an AI power user. All right.
Amazing. Thanks, Lauren. Super appreciate that. This is going to be a really interesting webinar. As you might imagine, I'm actually on my phone, so hopefully this goes well and that I don't lose connectivity. I'm also going to try sharing my screen on my phone. So we're going to test all the mobile capabilities of Zoom here today. So bear with me. I'm also fun enough at an airport. So I may mute myself just every now and then if there's like a huge announcement happening in the background, but bear with me. Appreciate you all being flexible while I'm on the road. Had some unexpected travel. So but I am super excited to talk about this topic. Please feel free to throw reactions out there, throw some questions in the chat or the Q&A. This is a topic that I am extraordinarily passionate about. We have been running this AI bootcamp primarily for beginners or even some non-technical folks, or if you are technical and you just are interested in learning some best practices with these AI tools. As you all might imagine, AI is becoming an absolutely necessary skill for every single job. In my day job, I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called AlignAI, and we work with tons and tons of enterprises and companies on their different AI initiatives. So I see that transformation happening every single day. I'm actually flying home from San Francisco today. I was at the Fortune Brainstorm AI event, and you had all the big players there as speakers. And I say that because it is getting really, really incredible how fast the innovation is happening in this space. OpenAI did a live demo on Sora, which is a new video generation tool that they officially released to most people, I believe. I know they were having some compute restraints on the on processing with that tool, but you know, it is rapidly changing, and as a practitioner, I constantly have to stay up to speed on what all of these tools do, the new capabilities within these tools. And again, there's tons and tons and tons of tools getting flooded into the market. It used to be that there was lots of rapid iteration happening on the model side. Now we're finally starting to see a lot of that on the application side. So new applications that are coming online into the market that are incredible, that solve very, very specific problems, whether it's in legal, accounting, or on the consumer side, which most tools you're probably familiar with, including Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini. So the bootcamp is meant to kind of give a crash course introduction to AI, what it is, how it works, specifically generative AI is what we're focused on, all of the different tools that exist out there. So just to give you a quick outline, and I'm planning on sharing my phone screen, so we'll see how this goes. But just to give you a quick outline of the actual course itself. So session one is very introductory. We kind of go over what is a model, what is a large language model, how does it work, how are they trained, and then how are those models leveraged in different tools. So we kind of talk about the critical layers of abstraction, anywhere from compute to data to models, and then the interface of those models. This, again, is really good for folks that are just kind of dabbling. And I personally think it's super important for people to understand how these systems work, what they're comprised of, the different components inside of them, but also how they're evaluated. So how we're thinking about the goodness, and I put that in quotes, of these models and how they perform. There's a lot of benchmarks out there that are evaluating different capabilities of these models, which I think is really important over time. So that's session one. There's 8 sessions total. Session 2 is an office hour session where we actually engage with each other, interact with each other on a particular assignment. So the first assignment's on data analysis using AI. So I give everyone a data set in an Excel sheet, and then I have, you know, each of the participants go into their favorite tool, whatever that is, and actually run an analysis and create visualizations off of relational data or column-based data, column and record-based data. And that is super fun because you can go from data to data analysis to storytelling, obviously on a smaller data set and maybe on something very simple, but really, really quickly, and it shows you the initial power of these tools. So that is the first exercise that we do together. It's really fun to see what people come up with and how they create different visualizations and stories around that using AI. So that's session 1 and session 2. Session 3, we dive a bit deeper into how to actually prompt these models. So prompting, I'm sure all of you have heard, is a really important skill to learn. Now, good news is these models are getting better in terms of performance over time. So the amount of context that we have to provide for them to give us really good outputs, them being the AI systems, is getting less. We used to have to be super, super specific, you know, a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago with our prompts, and we still do, but it's getting better over time with the reasoning logic that these companies are designing and engineering into these AI systems. So, you know, session 3 really dives deep into what makes a good prompt and how do we really interface with these types of tools. You'll start to see that this paradigm between humans and computers is shifting over time. We're very used to keyboards and mouse clicks and screens and buttons, and traditional software where we're kind of clicking around and searching for what we need, and AI is kind of redefining that paradigm quite a bit. So what I'm trying to do in this bootcamp is introduce those concepts to individuals so that you can work a lot more efficiently with those tools and kind of learn what those new paradigms look like over time. Part of that, by the way, is voice. And so in session 3, we really dive into video generation, image generation, using voice generation, and how you can leverage that. And now with Sora getting released, we'll incorporate Sora into that as well. So the demo that OpenAI showed us that was really neat was they went from text to creating a video, from video to generating frames and images from that video over time. They took the frames, they translated the frames into descriptors, text descriptors, and then they used their voice to basically create a narration of the text descriptors of the frames. And then they overlaid the narration of what was happening in that video that was generated, and all with AI. Everything was kind of like piecemealed together using voice and video and image. And so this is kind of where we're going, right? Where we're able to actually kind of dictate things from a voice perspective and interact with these tools a lot more seamlessly than the point and click paradigm that we're all used to. So that's session 3, which is deep diving into those capabilities for these types of tools. And then, of course, we've got some fun participation and exercises that I assign out. So the prompting one, we go really deep. You pick an initiative and then you start prompting it very deeply. And then for voice, I encourage people to actually engage with these systems using voice and image, which I'll show some examples of hopefully here in a second when I share my phone screen. Because I use these apps on my mobile device non-stop. I use them all the time. So I'll show you some examples of, I think real life examples are really good ways of demonstrating this, which you all will get a nice little peek into my chat history, which is almost like giving people access to your Google search history, but it'll be great. So that's session 3 that's session 5 and 6. And then session 7 and 8 will focus on AI agents. So if you're new to the AI space, AI agents are basically a way that you can create an autonomous workflow that is self-correcting. So what I mean by that are like the different core components of AI. An AI agent is that it has agency, which is the ability to kind of act on something. So you allow it to either post on social media, or you allow it to basically take action on something that you're doing. And the generative system allows it to be a little bit more flexible in terms of automation, where it can self-correct and learn and go through the reinforcement learning process over time. So it has access to environments, it has access to knowledge bases, it has certain actions it can take, and it has some generalized logic to support that agent workflow. So an example of leveraging an agent might be on maybe doing a website evaluation, where you have an agent who looks at your website and starts to analyze different opportunities for improvement, maybe on SEO, or maybe on the layout, or maybe on specific copy. And then it takes that information and it actually creates suggestions on those improvements. And maybe you even give it agency to just make those improvements. You might have a human in the loop that kind of reviews the suggestions and maybe alters it or approves it, and then allows that agent to actually make the update to your website itself. So this is an example of an agent versus kind of these open-ended AI systems. I just got a question, so I'm gonna answer questions live as they come in. It says the bootcamp in January looks like it has a wait list already. When will the next session be? Yeah, so if you are interested, we do have a wait list in place. Throw yourself on the wait list. Our next session is starting at the end of January, I believe January 24th or 5th or something like that. I think the last week in January. This bootcamp runs 8 weeks. We do 1 session per week. And so it'll probably be March by the time we have our next bootcamp. I will talk about more details on that as well towards the end on how to get registered. But the best thing you can do is throw yourself on the wait list. It is a paid bootcamp with us, but there are options to support that. So we have payment plans. We also provide 50% off for any of our paid members. So if you're a part of our paid membership program, get 50% off of the bootcamp. If you are based in Ohio, we actually partner with a program called TechCred, which will fully reimburse you if you are a W-2 employee to an Ohio-based company. So you have to live in Ohio as a W-2. You also have to work for a company that is present in Ohio or has offices in Ohio. But you can get fully reimbursed, your company can get fully reimbursed for a bootcamp like this. So it is free for those folks. If you're not in Ohio and your state or area has a very similar reimbursement program, just reach out to us and we're happy to explore a relationship with that particular program or agency that supports it. So if you are interested or you have questions about how to finance the bootcamp, just let us know, reach out to us. We're happy to work with you. Great question. Thanks for asking. So that's kind of the end-to-end of what we do in the bootcamp. So on the agent side, a lot of the tools today to build agents are paid tools. So we don't necessarily have the ability to do free exercises on agents. However, I still go through the process with people to actually design and create a design requirement sheet for an agent together. So we'll pick a use case again, and then we'll go through and we'll create requirements for our agent as if we were going to build it. And I'll show you what some of these agent platforms look like. They're pretty cool. I know Microsoft just released some more information about their agent capabilities inside the Microsoft stack. So if you are a part of an enterprise organization that is a Microsoft shop, that might be something to look into. They're extending all their capabilities around their Copilot Studio, which is basically a way to create a custom Copilot. You'll hear these terms like Copilot agent thrown around a ton. Copilot really is just a supplement. Like it's supplementing your ability to do something yourself, whereas an agent is really driving towards automation or augmentation to an extent, but mostly human in the loop, although you don't have to do human in the loop. And for those of you that don't know what human in the loop is, that just means that the AI system can't take action until a human has actually reviewed the information and approves the action to be taken. Most of the companies we work with require things like that. It's just a really great way of ensuring quality of whatever is happening and that nothing goes awry. So yeah, if you have more questions on the curriculum or what we're doing or any of the exercises or details, please feel free to throw it in the chat or the Q&A. Happy to answer it live here. I'm going to go ahead and try my best to share my screen. Give me one moment. I'm going to show you a really fun one, actually, first. I was just in New York. Okay, hopefully this works. Okay. If you can't see my screen, let me know. I'm just going to talk for a little bit. I think it's showing the right thing. So you should be able to see my ChatGPT mobile device or mobile app. I'm using 4.0, which if you look at the upper left-hand corner, you'll see it says ChatGPT 4.0. 4.0 is the model type that I'm using. It is I have a paid version. I just find that it's a lot better to use the paid versions. You don't run out of like prompting capacity. You also have access to higher performance models. You can do a lot more with images. So I do find that it's pretty good, although you can pick from several different types of models. There's 4.0 mini, there's 0.1, There's GPT-4 if you wanted to use it. They're good for different things, and we talk about the differences in the class. So this is my chat history on the left-hand side. I'm just going to show you the fun one that I use all the time when it comes to images. I was just in New York. I was at a restaurant. I sort of know Spanish, but not really. So I was at a restaurant. I didn't know what, let me see if it'll pull up. I did not know what any of these dishes were. So I took a picture of it and I uploaded it to ChatGPT and said, explain each of these dishes for me so that I could order them. And so that's just like a really fun example of using it. Obviously simple prompt, but just to give people orientation to how a tool like this works. If you look at actually I'll go to the new prompt menu. Oops. Okay. If you go to back to the home page, you'll see on the bottom of the left-hand corner, there's a little plus button where you can upload images, take photos, upload files. There's also this little globe looking thing, which is access to the internet. So being able to search the internet if you want to find something specific. The bottom right is the voice command, which I use all the time, especially when I'm on the go like this. So the voice command will allow you to basically engage like you would a person. So like you would speak to the AI system, it would start speaking back to you conversationally, but you can interrupt them and you can kind of correct where they're going or make an adjustment live, which I think is a really great capability when you're actually trying to use voice. I find it can be kind of challenging or difficult if you can't do that. Some of the things that you'll see on the left-hand side, I like to use these tools a lot when I'm doing strategic work. So website relaunch plan, I got 2 of those, obviously. It's best, by the way, to keep it all into one. I think I was using that for the boot camp. The AI alignment title suggestions. I like to do brainstorming with this as well. I don't know about any of you, but like cold starts are really hard for me when I'm trying to do something, and especially creative work where I'm either writing copy or I'm trying to create something from scratch or go from 0 to 1. They just started playing full piano right next to me, so I'm going to walk and talk. So yeah, I think what I like about that is that you can start to create some, an initialization point, and then AI will help you to iterate on that over time. The other thing I like to use it for is an overview or learning or educational opportunities, like the EU AI Act, where there's a lot of information and you need more of an explanation on something. So for example, you can have it kind of give you a very simple description of something a little bit more complex. And so I find that to be very useful as well. So those are just some examples. You can also analyze data in here too. So summarizations, brainstorming, creating plans, strategic plans, creative work, I find all to be very, very useful for that. I also like to create and dictate notes on things. So if I just got out of a meeting and something's top of mind for me, I'll tend to use that voice command and start to kind of like just spew all of the thoughts from that meeting and get it down. So those are just some examples. Let me see if I can go back and show you all Claude next. And again, sorry about the background noise, that was wild. I'm in a quieter space now. So for Claude, let's see. I'm going to share my screen again. So I really like Claude for a bunch of reasons. Claude Sonnet is my favorite model, I think. One of the major reasons I like Claude is because Claude is really, really good at creative writing. So if I'm trying to write like a LinkedIn post or a blog or something like that, I use Claude to kind of create the outline, start to iterate on the copy. And I just find that it works really well. The second thing that I love about it is that it's actually really good at analysis. they actually just launched a new capability on the paid version, which allows you to do more in-depth data analysis. So, and the way that Claude works is that it generates artifacts. So this is an example from the bootcamp, actually. It's obviously pretty long, but I'll go to the top here. So you can upload a data set, and then you can have it start to explain the columns. So when you start, obviously, on data analysis, you want to look at understanding the data set and the different columns in the data. So this is what's in the data. It actually goes through and describes what the data set is. And the cool thing is here too, if you think about AI, biggest thing that you want to do is provide as much context as possible. So you take whatever it is that you're doing, and then you add in tons of context by providing links or sources or documents so that either your objectives are very clear to the AI system or that it has more detailed information that it can use to give you better results. So again, I know this is a very common phrase, but like you want to treat it like an intern. It does not have a lot of context. The more context you provide them, the better work they can produce. So it starts with describing the different columns, data sets in there. And then it starts to calculate code, which I think is really neat. So Claude's also very good at writing code. If you ask it to write code for you, it can do that, debug code as well. So it can start to create more statistical analysis on these different columns. You can see this like light exposure hours, gives me the range, mean, distribution, a little insight about that column, which I think is super helpful. So this is just, again, a preview into the first exercise that we do. If you were to have seen this on my computer and not my phone, it would actually, I'm trying to pull up one of the artifacts. It's not processing for some reason, but those artifacts actually show like visualization. So it creates visualizations. You can see the little artifact here. It's a sleep quality analysis dashboard. You just click that, and normally on a laptop, it would pop up and show you the actual dashboard of the data. So you can start to plot the data. Let's see if this works. Nope, none of them are working. That's okay. Yeah, so we do go through this in a lot more detail, and I find that it's really, really helpful when you are analyzing, especially like light data sets too. I find if we're doing like a quarterly review for our company, and I've got a bunch of sales data, or we have customer service or customer success data that we want to just run some metrics on, I find that it's very, very good at that. So you can see all the artifacts at the top. You can see the analysis as well. And it kind of breaks it down into projects and custom instructions you can add. So you can really start to do a lot with this kind of stuff, which I think is just absolutely fascinating. Let me go back to Zoom. And like I said, if you have questions, feel free to ask them here. But, oh, I see another question came in. When you use voice command, does it store your voice? Great question. I would actually need to look into that a little bit. So data privacy is one of the biggest elements that personally I care about a lot, right? We talk about ethics and data privacy. So I'll dive into that a little bit here, actually. First and foremost, the thing that you want to look for with these tools should be very, very clear, is that you want to look at the terms and conditions of the tools, which, a hack you could do is actually get the terms and conditions, put it into the tool and start asking questions about the terms and conditions, right? Because who likes to actually read the whole thing? So that's one trick you could do. But to answer your question, I would need to look into that in more detail. What I do know is that a lot of these tools will store the data. So like your prompt or your voice, it needs that access to that information in order to process it. However, they likely have like retention policies where they don't hang on to that information for a long period of time because they only need it for a short period, right? While you're actually engaging with the prompt itself. I do know that the free version of ChatGPT by default will retrain on data as you engage with it. So I can actually share my screen again, and I'll show you how to turn that off. It's going to look a bit different from my phone than from your phone. Let's see here. ChatGPT. Hopefully you guys are seeing my screen okay. But if you go into the settings, you'll see, for me, it's data controls. So click data controls, and then you'll see the chat training at the top there. It says this workspace is private and opt-out training. So if you paid for it, so we have a team version. So everybody on my team has a paid version of ChatGPT, and we have additional perks as a team, quote, team, that allows us to kind of share things with each other and create spaces with each other to collaborate. But another added bonus of that is that it does turn off retraining. And chat training basically is a way for OpenAI to make their models better with the way that people engage and interact with them. But if you're uploading personal information, you obviously don't want them training their models on that information. I would also highly, highly suggest that you never put that kind of information in these types of tools. If you are at a company and you'd like to use it for work, you should go through the proper channels of using it within your workplace. I just say that because we deal with a lot of customers where that's a problem. And if they do have a procured version of ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, they've already worked out with the company that there's all sorts of data privacy and protocols in place. So just keep that in mind. If you're using it personally as a consumer and it's free, you can turn it off so it doesn't retrain. But I would also highly suggest you don't put sensitive information about yourself in there, like, personally identifiable information, like maybe your social security number. Definitely don't put that in there. I know some people will upload their health data in there and use that. I've actually talked to somebody who got really good information from their health data within, I think it was Claude, and they shared that with their doctor and then was able to actually do some more creative things with their doctor. Of course, they leaned on their doctor for their expertise, but they at least became more knowledgeable about it. So that's kind of neat as well, but I just wanted to show you all what that looks like to turn it off. So cool. Thanks for that question. Next question. Will they use that data to train future models? That one I addressed in that discussion. So you can turn it off so that they don't. Claude, I believe, never does that. So you don't have to worry about that. But if it is turned off, they will not retrain on that information you're putting in there. So, okay, how do you protect company data using the systems? Great question. Like I said, you should always work with your company directly and your security team. They do, in fact, have several ways of protecting data. One of the things that your security team and legal team will want to do is just make sure you go through the right process of onboarding them as a vendor, which includes things like architectural reviews. Basically, how do you keep your company data separate from other companies' data? How do you ensure that it's being used appropriately and not being used to retrain? You'll want to go through the contract in detail, but always procure it with your company instead of just letting people onesie twosie get, licenses. So that's my suggestion. Where is the sign up for the bootcamp? So if you go to womenandanalytics.com, we have a landing page. In fact, I don't know, Lauren, if you're able to find it real quick and throw it in the chat. We'll put it in our follow-up email as well with a link to sign up for it for the wait list. So we'll make sure you have it. Thanks for that question. One more question we got from the audience. So whether valid or not, I'm finding a lot of our associates have fear of AI, hallucinations, plagiarism, data security, etc. Excuse me. Any tips on navigating this? Great question. So all of these tools will hallucinate. And I actually have this thought with a lot of our customers. where the hallucinations actually get harder and harder to spot as these models get better. So in some cases, they're actually quite easy to spot. An example of that is using Copilot inside of your email, right? Outlook or something through Microsoft. And, you're asking for summarizations of things, conversation between you and someone else. And for a fact that you never talked about that topic. Obviously, that is a hallucination. Excuse me. So, yeah, and I just got another question too about what is a hallucination. Yes, great question. So, a hallucination is, I'll give you my very specific example I use when we do training. So, a hallucination is basically, imagine that I came up to you and I asked you to give me the soil composition of the rainforest, of the Amazon rainforest. I bet most of you don't know what that is. I certainly don't. But I said, you have to give me an answer. And it can't be, I don't know, right? So you have to give me an answer, and you're not allowed to use Google. Like, you're not allowed to look it up. That would be restricting you from getting accurate information. Again, context that you would need to answer that. And so you may start making something up of what you think potentially could be the soil composition of the rainforest in the Amazon. That is what these AI systems do sometimes. I don't think that these tools have a great way yet of determining their confidence level in answering something fully correctly. And so when it's not fully confident, it may make an error or may make it an incorrect assumption and may give you information in a very confident way about something that if you didn't know any better, you would think is true, and it's not true. And obviously this is a problem, right, with misinformation. It's not intentional, but it's just either a lack of, system performance, a lack of data. Maybe it just doesn't have access to that specific information. So it is true, these things do hallucinate. What we're finding, though, is you start with people who know the true answer. And start with use cases where you kind of have a domain expert and you're augmenting that expert. So when I'm using it, I never really rely on it fully for it to be true unless I know how to spot it really quickly. So when I was talking about website copy, I know what sounds good and I know what's also true. So I can correct it or I can edit it appropriately. But if I'm researching something, I may not know what's true. So there's tools like Perplexity, which are research tools, and they actually source the information for you. So if you're doing research on something you don't know much about, it will still give you answers, but it will also give you reliable sources associated with those answers that you can click on and validate and read more information about. So one is training and education and awareness and literacy about AI is that hallucinations happen. They're not 100% correct. You have to have a human in the loop process to be able to correct or identify corrections. However, they're still super useful tools because they can collect tons and tons of information much faster than we can. So my objective always is what can it do that's repetitive that I don't want to do? And how do I just focus all of my energy on the really hard things to do? Another area we use AI a lot is in our sales process. Like we're researching a prospect, we're finding news, we're finding information about the company, maybe public initiatives that they've talked about, which can all be sourced and we can all validate that information somewhere. So it's a great question. There's a lot of information there on how to do it right. So just follow up with me if you've got more questions on that topic. I'm happy to talk to you about it. We have one more question, and then we're already at the time, so my voice is already starting to go. So thanks everyone for bearing with me. Last question, my background's in mathematics. I want to use from this in a new field. How can I start? I assume what you're saying is you want to use AI in a new field. So my suggestion would be just get started, start using it for everyday tasks, you know, do it for easy things, and then go from there. So I use it for personal information all the time. For example, I showed you the menu at the restaurant. I use that for cooking. I use it all for all sorts of things. So just start there. And then last question is, can we get the recording? Absolutely. Hopefully the recording's not insane because of all the background noise and the fact I'm at an airport. So yes, we will send the recording in a follow-up email for everyone after this. So hopefully this was insightful and helpful. Thank you all again for bearing with me while I travel. Super appreciate that. I saw Lauren drop the link to sign up for the waitlist, so thank you. And Lauren, do you want to close this out for the next session?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks everyone for joining, and thanks Rehgan. That was a great presentation. I love learning more about how I can use AI just to make my life a little easier. And so, yeah, so we sent out the link to that. If you're interested in joining the AI Bootcamp, we will follow up with the recording. And if you're interested in joining us for another session next week, on the 18th, we will have another webinar to talk about our CDO masterclass, and Rehgan will be leading that as well to share some of the amazing things they're talking about within those sessions. So,
and I will not be at an airport for that one.
All right, awesome. So thank you all. Have a great day. And yeah, we hope to see you again soon.